Hi, this is Dr. Lenore Coleman. I am the president and founder of a company called Healing Our Village, and we are here today at the city of Daivd. I am so excited to be out here. We're doing a health fair, and we've done height and weight, we've done blood pressures and blood sugars. We're also doing urine protein testing because there's a big issue with chronic kidney disease in our community. And so we're here to try to find those people that might be spilling protein in their urine and therefore may have the early signs of chronic kidney disease. So this is going to be a relatively brief presentation, and we have two excellent speakers here today. One that's going to go through a few slides on chronic kidney disease, and then we have Dr. Claire Truesdale, who was a nephrologist actually in Swanee. So this is close to this area, and she came over right from church today, so I'm really happy to have her. And she's going to be here to answer any questions that the audience may have, right? So we're going to have Dr. Oragwu. We're going to have Dr. Oragwu, who is a clinical pharmacist. She is a specialist in actually HIV, and she lives in the area. She's working now with Healing Our Village, and she's consented to come and give our kidney disease presentation today. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. So for today's discussion, as Dr. Coleman has stated, we're going to be talking about chronic kidney disease. So leaving here today, we want you guys to know the important function of your kidney, why your kidney is important, what your kidney does for you, what chronic kidney disease is, and how to treat kidney failure when that does happen. So what are your kidneys? So as you all probably know, we have two of them, right? Everyone has two kidneys, and they're located in your lower back. And in order for your body to do what it's supposed to do, you have to have at least one healthy kidney to help filter out everything from your body. So though we have two, as long as you have one good one, you're good. So what is the actual function of your kidney, and why is it so important? So your kidneys, the goal of the kidney is to filter out any waste and extra fluid that is retaining in your body. The kidney's purpose is to help keep healthy bones. It helps to stabilize and manage certain minerals in your body, such as calcium. So if you don't have adequate calcium levels, that's when you may start having bone issues. It also is responsible for making red blood cells. So your red blood cells are needed to, one, help give you energy, right? So if you think of anemia, if you don't have enough red blood cells, then that's when you may start to feel fatigued and have anemic signs and symptoms. It also helps to control your blood pressure. Again, if you think of some of the minerals that the kidney is responsible for regulating and balancing, that's where blood pressure may become an issue. And then other minerals such as potassium is another important electrolyte that the kidney helps to maintain. So how does the kidney actually work? So what happens is your blood flows through your kidney. And when it flows through your kidney, the kidney serves as like a filter system, where it filters out any waste, any excess fluid that your body doesn't need, and it sends that out through your urine. So a lot of the waste is sent out through your urine, and whatever your body needs and holds onto goes back in through your body circulation. So just think of think of it as a colander when you're separating things. Think of your kidney in the same way. It's kind of filtering out what it needs to keep and what it doesn't. What it doesn't need goes out through your urine. So what happens when your kidneys are damaged? So when you have damaged kidneys, obviously your blood that's circulating through the kidney is no longer moving the waste effectively, right? So you're holding on to some of these things. You're holding on to more glucose. You're holding on to more sodium. You're holding on to more fluid, and this will lead to symptoms that we'll talk about later that can happen when your body is not filtering out what it does not need. So what exactly is chronic kidney disease? Have you guys heard of chronic kidney disease? Great. So CKD also known as chronic kidney disease, is basically damage to your kidney, where your kidney cannot operate in an efficient manner. And we'll see on the next slide that there's different stages of chronic kidney disease, and the goal is really to catch it early before it progresses to the later stages where it can't be turned around. So this damage sometimes is permanent. So you want to make sure you're catching it early so that you can help slow down progression the best you can. So this is a rough estimate for you guys to see how many people actually live with chronic kidney disease. So about 15% of adults in the US live with chronic kidney disease. And if you take, for example, you all in the audience, if you take 7 of you, if you put everyone in groups of 7, at least one person out of that 7 may have chronic kidney disease. And if we look specifically at how it affects African Americans are 35% more likely to end up with end-stage renal disease. And you'll see when we talk about the most common conditions that lead to CKD, you'll see why it may affect Black people more than other populations. So these are the stages of CKD we discussed. So there's 5 stages. Stages 1 and 2 are your more mild form of CKD. So this is where your kidney is still functioning, but it's losing some function. So it's mild loss of your kidney function. Stages 3 is where you're getting more into the moderate loss of kidney function. And then 4 or 5 are more of the severe, with 5 being end-stage renal disease. So this is where your kidneys essentially cannot work on their own. You need to have other modalities to help get rid of waste in your body. So kidney failure is called end-stage renal disease. So you'll hear this abbreviated as ESRD. Again, like I said, your kidneys essentially stop working, and in order for you to stay alive, you have to incorporate other modalities such as dialysis to help get this waste out of your body. And sometimes it could lead to a kidney transplant being needed to really get you to where you want to be and to maximize your quality of life. So symptoms of CKD, I'm going to skip to this slide right here where you can see some of the main symptoms. And if you think about the function of your kidney, so your kidney is helping to regulate certain electrolytes. So if you don't have a balance of potassium, for example, you may start to see muscle cramps. Or swelling in your feet, your body's not able to get rid of fluid adequately, so you start to get more swelling. You may get some fatigue and tiredness, because again, remember, you need red blood cells. Your red blood cells are what kind of give you the energy to help carry oxygen in your body. If you don't have this, then that's when you'll start to see some of the fatigue come in. So here are some of the symptoms that you may experience. And again, these symptoms, you're going to see them more towards the stage 4 and 5. Stages 1 through 3, you may not see a lot of these symptoms, so it's towards more advanced kidney disease. So if you find out that you do have chronic kidney disease, you want to see what you can do to stop this early, as soon as possible. So it's important to make sure you're managing any other chronic conditions you may have. More importantly, the ones that are more likely to lead to chronic kidney disease, such as high blood pressure and diabetes. I was going to ask you this question, but it's already on the screen. What's the number 1 cause of CKD? So diabetes, and that's one of the reasons we're here today, screening for diabetes. It's important to make sure you know your number when it comes to high blood glucose. About 50% of people who have diabetes also get CKD. And so when we're looking at your blood glucose, normal blood glucose levels are a fasting blood glucose less than 100. So fasting being this is your blood glucose when you wake up first thing in the morning, you haven't had anything to eat for about 8 to 12 hours. And that's coupled with also looking at your A1C. So your A1C is an average of what your blood glucose is over a 3-month period. So normal is anything less than 5.7. When you start looking at pre-diabetes and diabetes, you see the number of differences here. Obviously, you have a higher fasting blood glucose. Your hemoglobin A1C is higher. So again, it's very important to know your number so you know where you sit. The second most common cause is high blood pressure. So high blood pressure means your heart is working too hard to pump blood out of the heart. And as we spoke about blood flowing through your kidneys, you can see how this may affect your blood pressure as well as trying to maintain certain electrolytes. So again, knowing your levels are important. You can see here on the screen, normal blood pressure is systolic of 120. Diastolic less than 80. So if you're above this, knowing where you fall, whether it's pre-hypertensive, stage 1 or stage 2 is really important, and making sure you're getting care to control your hypertension so it doesn't lead to other effects that could cause kidney damage. Testing for kidney disease. So something we're also doing here today is checking for protein in the urine. Again, if your kidneys aren't working appropriately, some things will start to spill out into your kidneys. And proteins are one of the key signs of chronic kidney disease that can be tested for. So this is something that can be done at a physician's office. We're also testing for that here if you have elevated blood pressure or that blood sugar. And this just circles back to, I think the key takeaway today is knowing your numbers all overall. So if you are one that typically has elevated fasting blood sugar or has been told you have a high A1C, or if you struggle with maintaining your blood pressure, you want to make sure you're seeking care to get that better control, and also making sure that's testing for chronic kidney disease. So this is kind of what's next. What are your next steps? So ask your doctor about your levels, of course. If you have home monitoring tests at home, make sure you're checking it on the regular, so keep up with that. Ask your doctor specifically about kidney disease, and then talk to them on how to further prevent chronic kidney disease. And then lastly, for those who do have chronic kidney disease that advanced to stage 5, remember we said that's stage 5 is end-stage renal disease, and this is when your kidney is no longer functioning for you to keep you alive, so you have to use other modalities such as dialysis or a kidney transplant, maybe another option. So this is what we want to try to prevent you from getting sick. All right. I'm going to skip some of the details on dialysis. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out and ask for the questions on that. And I am going to pass it to Dr. Coleman to speak more on APOL1 mediated kidney disease.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. Thank you so much. So just a point, we're actually working with several companies that are doing some clinical trials and clinical research on APOL1 mediated kidney disease. So this is really interesting. What they found is that in people from sub-Saharan Africa, so Nigeria, Liberia, Senegal, Ghana, they actually had a gene mutation that occurred because to prevent them getting and dying from African sleeping sickness. And so this mutation happened thousands of years ago. So the gene that mutated was actually on chromosome 22. It was called the APOL1 gene. So it mutated. And if you had one of those genes, then it helped with the African sleeping sickness. But if you had two of them, it found that your risk of going to kidney failure was increased and accelerated. So you would get there much quicker. So one of the reasons we had come here to the city of Daivd is we knew that there was a large population here of folks from Nigeria and other parts of the continent. And so we were here to see if any of those folks may have this gene variant. We don't know. This is relatively, I'd say new research within the last 10, 15 years. So this, to me, is a very interesting thing because it's mostly hypertension, the APOL1 mutation, not necessarily diabetes, kidney disease. Here in our village, my company is here to look for both. Because we want to make sure that those folks who have diabetes are getting their blood sugars under better control, and those people who have blood pressure are trying to get their blood pressure under much better control. So I just wanted to mention that because that's something of interest to my company, and that's why we're here. You have all of our information that was given to you. If you have kidney disease in your family and you want to learn more about this, then please, see me at the end of the screen, and I'd like to talk to you more about it. We have some literature that we'd like to give to you. Yes? All right, so at this point, I don't know if anyone in the audience has any questions about kidney disease, but we again have Dr. Truesdale here who can answer any questions.
So if you have a person that constantly have protein in their urine, how do you go about it, or what's the significance of the protein and how do you treat it, or how do you educate the patient?
As she said, I'm Dr. Truesdale. Actually, I'm a nephrologist in the area in both Gwinnett and DeKalb County. And I have a private practice office that actually does just that. Typically, if there's protein in the urine, and that's usually picked up on screening, exams with your primary care doctor, sometimes insurance physicals, people will be found to have protein in their urine. And they are either referred to their primary doctor and a lot of times to a nephrologist. Protein in the urine can be from various sources, but the one that we are interested in today is that due to a leak in the kidneys, the integrity of the kidney is a bit changed because of blood pressure that's been up for a while, or diabetes that's been uncontrolled for a while, or excess weight. There are lots of reasons that people can have protein in their urine. Typically it's picked up when they dip the urine on dipstick and it's plus or minus or 3 plus, or and so that's usually a screening exam. That's not necessarily a problem. Once you find that there's protein in the urine, qualitatively, which is the dipstick, we then send it to the lab and we measure it and we quantitate that. And there's a certain amount of protein that is higher than a certain amount, which is problematic and needs to be followed up and managed. So not all protein in the urine implies that there's kidney disease or a chance of kidney failure, but it's a screening. So once you find out that people have a quantitative amount of protein that is significant, you look at the reasons, okay, why? Typically, it's very common. Diabetes uncontrolled, blood pressure sustained uncontrolled, excess weight. A lot of these, we call these lifestyle things. So as nephrologists, we work on an ongoing basis with our patients to modify these risk factors. These are modifiable risk factors for developing kidney disease and kidney failure. And most people are very successful at taking care of that. Sometimes we use medication. Most of the times we do lifestyle, diet change, weight loss, and people don't tend to emphasize activity, mobility, movement. That's a big part of lifestyle modification as much as a pill or a diet. And so we can get it managed that way, and if that's the case, wonderful. Sometimes we have to do other tests to see if there are other causes of protein in the urine. For example, lupus and other diseases that are specific to the body or the kidney will cause protein in the urine. Sometimes we have to go so far as to do a biopsy to figure out, okay, what's going on in this kidney that's allowing this leak. But the short answer to your question is protein in the urine, check it a couple of times, go to the physician, measure it. If it's a measurable amount, the primary care doctor is very capable of working with patients to manage this and treat this, but a nephrologist is the person who does it as, I would say on the expert level. We're much more efficient in doing that, and the goal is to get that protein level down to a normal amount. Protein in the urine is a risk factor for developing chronic kidney disease and going on to kidney failure. As a nephrologist, I do have an office practice, but I also co-own 3 dialysis units and have owned some in the past. And I have to say, I don't market, don't advertise, don't have social media presence because there's no need. The book of business from the risk factors and the things that cause kidney disease and kidney failure is so large that I dare not advertise it or I would be overwhelmed. So the basic way to address this is screening and routine health care and more screening and managing the things that are found to be out of, not controlled. Diabetes, blood pressure, weight, things like that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miguel. Not sure if this one is working, but she said something that was really, really important. We could prevent a lot of the kidney disease that we're seeing right now. It's preventable. We do know that diabetes out of control, high blood pressure out of control, those are the two main things we think about. Right now, there is some genetics that I just talked about. Did want to mention regarding the APOL1, just because you have the two genes doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get kidney disease. They found that there needs to be some kind of a secondary event, some kind of a secondary hit that then causes those chromosomes, mutations to turn on. And so what they think might be one of the hits is viral infections. So you may have saw in the news how many people got kidney disease after COVID. Yeah, so that's a virus. We know the HIV virus, right? We know inflammatory diseases like lupus, right? So all of those kinds of things is why we want to know what's going on, but also why we need to be very healthy and think about prevention, come to these kinds of events so that we can know what our numbers are. It's so important, all right? Any other questions? Well, I want to thank you both so much for coming today, and we had a great time here at City of Daivd, and hopefully we'll get a chance to come back maybe in 2024 and do this again. Thank you so much.